Alright guys, PW here, and doing my subwoofer cable test. Hope you caught my last video on the subwoofer boxer cable from AudioQuest, but in this video I'm actually going to be comparing the two cables that are most commonly used. AudioQuest subwoofer cables are very common, keep in mind, but the other most common subwoofer cable I could choose to find in this video to compare at least is the Acoustic Research Subwoofer Interconnect. Keep in mind, this is not a digital coax cable. However, oftentimes the two can be mistaken. But this is also a directional subwoofer cable. As you can see here, somewhere on the insulation or jacketing, it's got a small arrow. And just reading the description of it, here, we'll kind of turn it around here. But we're going to do a low-frequency effect test of this. And while we can do little test tones, and believe it or not, I have done that, it's, to me, not the most effective way. A lot of times movies are. Acoustic Research, Performance Series, Directional Balanced Line Audio Cable. Yeah, somewhere on here it's got an arrow. Yep, right there. So this end is actually going to go into the subwoofer itself, and the other end is going to connect to your amplifier. So join me for my little test, and hope you enjoy. Alright, so some words about the products we're going to be using. We're going to be using an SVS 10-inch ported subwoofer. And to ensure the best possible AC power we're getting, we're going to be using a pretty new AudioQuest power cable, AC power. I'm just going to plug this right into my outlet here, and we're going to test the subwoofer boxer cable from AudioQuest first. So for this test, guys, I'm going to be using first a Blu-ray, then an audio track. So we'll be listening to some music, we won't be watching a movie, and we'll be hearing the low-frequency effect, but particularly a DTS X soundtrack. So not going with Dolby Atmos for this test, but I'm wanting some good, clear, concise, dynamic bass to really test the two cables out with. So we're going to put in our Patriots Day Blu-ray and see what we notice. So as I said before, guys, the first test we're going to be using the AudioQuest Boxer cable, subwoofer cable. And we're just going to plug this right into our SVS subwoofer right here. Just going to go into the RCA low frequency effect port, as you can see right here. Plug it on in. Now, if you do notice that immediately when I plugged it in with the power turned on, and I don't normally recommend doing that with the power turned on, however, it's not going to necessarily hurt it. We did get a little bit of buzzing or distortion, but immediately when the cable is plugged in, actually, absolutely nothing. So, for this test, I'm not going to actually be grounding the cable up since I don't live near any high radio frequency interference. We're not going to be noticing a lot of interference at all, if any, with this cable. So I want to do this test the same way and really test both capabilities out of each cable and figure out what we can find here. So, first test is going to be with the AudioQuest Boxer subwoofer cable with the SVS 10-inch ported PB1000. So I want to just fill you in on a few specifics before we get started with our test. First of all, what we're going to do is to evenly compare both subwoofer cables. We're going to put our volume at exactly midway, or 50%. We're going to have our phase down at 0 because we're not using two subwoofers in this test. And I want to keep the phase at an even 0 so we're not altering or augmenting our test in any way, shape, or form. And we'll actually go through the response here, or the low-pass filter. But to start out with the Blu-ray film in DTS X, we're actually going to have it in the low-frequency effect spot right here. We can move it on down from here as we go. But we're going to start in the LFE section. It's on auto standby, keep in mind, and then we've got our boxer cable plugged into low frequency effect. Not using any Y connections or anything, nothing's coming out of here to ensure no distortion. And like I said, using our, I believe it's an NRG X cable from AudioQuest, and it looks like that is the case. It's an NRG X cable. It's the smaller one, so compatible with this SVS subwoofer. All right, we're all powered up now, so let's have a go. I'm going to make an HD master audio now, and I'll put it into DTS X once the film begins. Right off the bat, we do have very responsive bass, but there's no way to tell without comparing both cables. Alright guys, so we're at our film and we're going to go ahead and get started, and then we got to keep in mind run through the exact same scene as we are listening to the other subwoofer cable. So right off the bat in the menu, I just want to do a test really quickly. I'm going to hit the lights again once more, and we'll go ahead and see what we notice out of this guy. Out a scene like this in the video, just the menu playing. There is some bass coming out, or some signal coming out of the subwoofer as it is now. I'm just going to slightly put my finger against the surround here on the cone. And it is vibrating, yes. So I'm going to turn it on up here and see if we notice a big difference with the frequency. So I'm going to go from low frequency effect here. I'm going to turn it all the way down. It looks like our lowest spot is 50 hertz. I'm going to turn my volume all the way up for just a second. And while I can notice a big difference right now, I'm sure you guys cannot. So, back to our midway point, or 50% exactly. And then we're going to go back down to low frequency effect really quickly. And we're going to get into the film a bit, and then run through the exact same scene with the other cable. Alright, just to keep in mind that we're in DTS X. We've got DTS X right here. We're going to be at the exact same volume, so I'm going to put us up to 50% for both cables.
Very fast runners here out on this storied course. So much history today. To all the runners, our team behind the scenes, thank you for bringing this race.
Alright, so that turned out to be pretty effective. We noticed the best, clearest, most concise dynamic bass with that cable. And now it's on to the next cable. So we've got our acoustic research, and as I said before, it is directional too. So both cables are directional. I'm going to go ahead and unplug the AudioQuest Boxer cable, and I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a try. Keep in mind when doing this too and switching out the cables, you're going to want to turn off either the receiver or the subwoofer. I have to say I recommend doing both though, guys. So I'm going to switch my receiver on off here. Dunk. We're going to shut on down, and I'm going to switch out the cables here. Alright, so I'm going to find the proper end of the cable that goes into the speaker here, the subwoofer, and it looks like in this case it's going to be this end. We're just going to look for that arrow one more time. Yep, as you can see, so this is the right end that goes in. I'm just going to plug this end into the same input, the low frequency effect, and right away, what do we notice? So I'm not sure you guys can hear that, but I certainly can. It is a very low humming or buzzing sound, like a almost like there's a diesel truck sitting outside my house idling right now. Kind of like you'd hear in the garbage trucks or the snowplow trucks. So already have we begun the buzzing or distortion. Let's go ahead and complete the connection by plugging the other end into the back of the Marantz. Alright, so we got the other end plugged into the Marantz. We're going to go ahead and power this guy on. I'll drop down this tray so we can see. But just to have a little illustration here, keep in mind no grounding capability on the acoustic research at all. So it looks like we're getting our screen back in. It's going to already default it into 480p standard definition until we get our receiver charged up and going. Just want to hit display one more time to make sure we're in 4K. And I will talk about this later, guys, but I have been waiting to do a video on this as well. I think some people might like to know, Marantz and Denon users, that there is an interesting firmware update waiting for some users, as you can see here. But all that aside, I'll be doing a video on that later and listing exactly what features and upgrades have been placed in that firmware update. So just to ensure we're properly connected here, we've got our acoustic research, and the test was performed also with this cable plugged in as well, and that subwoofer turned off. So we want to keep things exactly the same. The cable running in the exact same position that our subwoofer cable was from AudioQuest, and let's give the film a try at the exact same point. So I have to point out, guys, that immediately once I made the connection, a little bit of the buzzing went away, but not entirely. There is still some hum or distortion with the acoustic research cable. So right there is why a more expensive subwoofer cable is worth your money. This is like a brand new subwoofer, as I said before, guys. A little bit less than a year's total use on it, but it has been broken in very intricately and completely. So nothing of the sort, nothing to do with the subwoofer itself. But yeah, we're still noticing some distortion or interference, so to speak. Still getting that buzz or that hum. So it's unfortunate, but let's have a go at the same scene, the exact same scene in the film. Everything's the same. We've got the same volume set at the SVS. We have the exact same phase. We've got the same frequency, the low frequency effect selected, as we remember before. We're going to start with the sub is in the exact same position. The wire is running in the exact same spot. So everything's the same, and let's have a go. All right, so we're just going to start exactly where we left off before. Make sure we're in the same sound mode and everything's the same. Let's move back up to that 50% volume.
Here out on this storied course. So much history today. To all the runners, our team behind the scenes, thank you for bringing this race
Alright guys, so very similar results. Same, similar sonic signatures and whatnot. Let's give it a little bit longer to go here. Alright, that's going to conclude our test, bring us to the same scene as before. And, we can try going back to the menu really quickly. Alright, so we're back in the main menu. We're at the exact same volume that we were with the AudioQuest Boxer subwoofer cable, and we're going to have a little roll on our SVS one more time. So this time I'm going to actually leave you in the front here, guys, and I'm going to roll the frequency from low frequency effect all the way down to 50 here. I'm also going to hit the volume back up to max as I did before. Alright, so that concludes our test. That was the acoustic research. I'm not sure exactly what cable this is, once again, from acoustic research. However, I have to point out, guys, that we are with the exact same distortion that we were back in the day. Now, I'm not getting a radio station played through my subwoofer, but I am getting distortion. Check back if you would like in another video. I'm going to do a sound test actually devoted to the bass, but I don't think things are going to change too much. I'll cycle through a few other cables, but I have to apologize for my little break in pumping out video, guys, as I promised a lot of things. However, I came down with an extremely bad cold. Not sure if you can tell with my voice the way it is now, but everything was being affected. 5 HTP receptors for vision, literally everything was being affected. So I had to break out that echinacea, ginseng, green tea extract, N-acetylcysteine, NEC carnitine as well, actual zinc tablets to suck on, lozenges dissolved sublingually, which is probably #1 thing I would say for a cold. So had a really bad cold, guys, so unfortunately I couldn't bring the videos I would have liked to, to you with a good time, but in time those will be done. So thank you for tuning in. That was my video on the AudioQuest Boxer cable versus an Acoustic Research, a pretty generic cable I could try to come up with. One of the most popular subwoofer cables sold at big box stores, the Acoustic Research. And then one of the best, I'd have to say, the perfect subwoofer cable, the Boxer. So let's just run through our conclusion once again. At first we tried our AudioQuest subwoofer Boxer cable, right? No distortion, clean, clear bass, dynamic, punchy, tight, very responsive, no distortion, no hiss, no hum, no buzz, nothing. Not grounded, same connections, everything the same. The Acoustic Research cable, totally different, guys. Hum or buzz, an actual buzz, as soon as I plugged the cable in. Then when I actually made the termination complete on the other end, horrible. It went away a little bit, but it was still there. Of course, if you've got the end of the cable touching anything, particularly metal, if it were, say, touching that table, the end of the connection, we'd really hear a buzz or distortion. But since that wasn't happening and it was just touching the carpet, maybe it was picking up on some magnetic field interference and it was getting some grounding issues through the house or whatnot, but it still happened when we completed the connection to the back of the amplifier. So I'd have to say, guys, I'd give the Subwoofer Boxer cable a 5 out of 5 stars, and I'd give the Acoustic Research probably a 2 out of 5 stars. Now, the sound in both the cables, the sound was pretty similar. I didn't notice too much of a sonic characteristic, that was identical to each cable. However, with the Subwoofer Boxer cable, we did seem to be able to go a little bit lower with the bass. Just a tad. Like I said at one point, it would take a trained ear to really identify that. Someone that's really, really, really used to this room, that subwoofer, the particular film we're watching, the scene and everything. So, not much of a difference there. But one of the things I did notice too is how fast the bass was able to respond. There was just a quick interference issue with the Acoustic Research one. So I think that made a little difference in terms of how quickly the bass were to react, at least the woofer, the voice coil itself. But I'm not sure about that. But that's just my opinion on that. Many people would argue with that, I'm sure. Well, we've got the Law of Diminishing Return again. So spending more for a subwoofer cable than this Boxer cable, I don't think is going to offer you that much. That's why I'd have to list this guy as particularly the best subwoofer cable on the market. I've listened and tested a lot of subwoofer cables in the past, guys, a ton. And not one, in my opinion, ever came as close in terms of cost-effective, so affordable, as reliable, as good-looking, but as performing as well. I think this one, for the money, really is your best option in terms of peace of mind. You're just going to buy one subwoofer cable, that's going to be it, that's going to do the job for the rest of your days, for at least 10 years, But until they create another subwoofer cable that does some amazing properties or things, I don't think I'm ever going to upgrade. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. That was my video on the audio subwoofer Boxer cable versus the Acoustic Research subwoofer cable. Big difference, night and day almost, and you wouldn't normally see that in an audio cable, particularly a subwoofer cable. I'd have to honestly say the Amazon Basics cable does a little bit better than the Acoustic Research one, even being that the Acoustic Research has kind of a gold-plated looking type terminal or connection on the end of it. But still, I'd have to say that the Amazon Basic was probably a little bit better at getting that distortion or buzz or hum out of there. So I'm not sure what it is. It must be in the insulation that lies in the cable itself. But the Acoustic Research one being the most common, I've even known other people, friends I've met, that I've gone over to their houses and I'll take a peek behind their receiver, and what do you know? That same acoustic research cable is connected to their subwoofer. So very common cable that I've seen in the past. But this AudioQuest cable extremely outperforms it. So give it a thumbs up if you like this video, guys, and don't forget to subscribe. Take care.